All right. Hello to everyone. Happy Friday. Let us just get a few of these windows sorted out over here. Get the chats where I can see them. I will put the page, this one, off. Let's go and be autograph. Let's put this one, okay. Okay. I think we are ready to go. All right. So yeah, hello to everyone. This is the Deep Dive program. My name is Tim. I go by FoamyGuy on GitHub and Discord. This is a weekly live stream program where we are diving deep into CircuitPython. Sometimes it is into the CircuitPython core, the actual C code that is the CircuitPython interpreter. Other times it's libraries or infrastructure or projects. It kind of varies from week to week, just depending on what is going on. I will take a quick step back, though, for anybody that might be new. If you don't really know what I'm talking about, you can learn more at the main website for the project, which is here, circuitpython.org. Basically, CircuitPython is an implementation of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. There's a bunch of pictures of those devices over here on the downloads page. All these devices essentially have a little computer on board, and when you run CircuitPython on that computer, you can connect this device to your actual computer, like your laptop or your desktop computer, and it will show up like a thumb drive. On that thumb drive, there will be a Python code file. You can edit the Python code that is inside that file, and the onboard computer on the microcontroller here will execute that Python code for you. This allows you to interface with all sorts of electronical widgets, essentially, right? You have a lot of input-output pins, which you can use to connect to other hardware. And different ones of these microcontrollers have different types of hardware built in. So like this macro pad right here has got some Cherry MX keys as well as a little display and a knob. Whereas this one down here has got a TFT display and a touch overlay. I think it has maybe like an accelerometer, a couple other things. So these things come in all different shapes and sizes, and the CircuitPython code that we are working on, it runs on all these devices and allows us to build projects and interface with other electronics. Good as can be expected. Nice. Glad to hear it. How's it going over on the Discord to Paul Cutler and Deshipu? Good evening to both of you. Or evening in my time. It's really not even evening yet. I suppose it's afternoon, but good day nonetheless. So that's a little bit about CircuitPython itself. CircuitPython is an open source project. Anybody's allowed to use it. Anybody is allowed to put it on your own microcontrollers, build your projects with it. You're also allowed to port it to your own devices. So if you're a hardware manufacturer and you manufactured a device, you are allowed to, port CircuitPython to that device if you would like. It's free of charge. The thing that keeps the lights on, so to speak, in the CircuitPython project is Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. As you can see, I got a little distracted by this one, which I want to look into in a minute. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York, and they are the ones who are primarily funding the CircuitPython project. So they pay the team of folks who works on the project full-time. There are also folks like me who work part-time on the project and are paid to do so by Adafruit. So, of course, big thanks to them, and then also thanks to anybody who wants to purchase hardware from them. By doing that, by heading over to adafruit.com and purchasing some hardware there, you are also helping support the CircuitPython project. So this one caught my eye, which I want to look at for just a second. This is completely unrelated to the rest of the stream, but this is kind of a cool thing. It's like a safe, almost looks like a safe wheel or something. This feels like you could use it for like a kind of like, pretend like Hollywood safe cracking scene or something, right? Like if you wanted to pretend like you were cracking a safe. It's kind of a fun little, maybe like in an escape room or something like that. V-mount rotary encoders. I guess it doesn't know absolute position though, which would probably make it difficult to use as a safe. Although, but it has numbers on it, right? Maybe it does know absolute position. Not sure if it actually knows the absolute position or not. Anyway, that's a neat little thing. So, what we will be working on today is in library land. I am going to be taking a look at this PR that Dan worked on a while back, about a year ago now at this point, back on the ESP32SPI library. This is the library that is used for the devices that have a built-in ESP32 as their co-processor, such as, for instance, the Pi Portal devices. Let's see, we could maybe pull this up here and get a look at the back of it as well, where we can see the actual ESP32 on there. How's it going, Skur? Good evening to you. Let's see here. So the ESP32 is here. And then this device has an Atmel SAMD51 as its main brain that runs CircuitPython, and then that communicates back and forth with the ESP32. The ESP32 provides it Wi-Fi access, essentially. So this library is the library that handles the communication between these two chips, the main SAMD51 and the coprocessor, the ESP32. Dan made this PR to try to change the API for the socket inside ESP32SPI library to match the API for CPython, which also, I believe, matches the API for like built-in Wi-Fi stuff like an ESP32S2, for instance, or S3 or PicoW. But it turned out that with this change, we actually had this problem where certain code, when it was trying to download files, the chunks would get out of order or whatever is going on here, right? Like it would download the file and it has all the right data, but it's not stitched together correctly, right? It's getting messed up. So we are gonna try to do two things today. I noticed this has merge conflicts now, so we're gonna try to merge main and straighten out the merge conflicts, and then if we can get that done, we are going to try to resolve this issue, and the way that we're going to do that is basically what was suggested in here, which is like so this is all from memory. We'll dive into it as we get going, and so maybe I'm wrong here, but from memory what I recall is that these downloads are occurring through the Pi Portal library, which uses like Portal Base as the main library. And I think the change that we will need to make is inside either Pi Portal or Portal Base, we will need to make a change to handle when the buffer size is 0, like when this thing returns 0 or not. There's a behavior that was supposed to do one thing, supposed to being like in the CPython API, it does one thing, and the built-in Wi-Fi, it does one thing, but then on the ESP32SPI, it actually used to have different behavior in this particular case. That different behavior, I think, is what's causing this. So if we can modify Portal Base to expect the correct behavior, quote-unquote correct behavior, the behavior that it has in this PR, then it should be able to go and download the files correctly when we use this updated version of the socket. If we can get all of that done, then we can get this to the point where it's actually ready to merge, which will be really nice, because having the socket API match the other devices is really nice. That way more code is portable between them, and I have my fingers crossed. I don't know if it's going to work out for certain, but I have my fingers crossed. I'm hoping maybe that if this has a compatible socket, it could also potentially be used on or I should say with the HTTP server library, which I think would be a nice thing as well. How's it going, Paul SK? Was in Kentucky until last Sunday. Break off my stay. Oh no, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. Had to return immediately. Yesterday I was presented at the cremation. I have time to be present on the stream. Wow, yeah. I mean, that's my heart goes out to you. That's terrible news, but is good to see you and hang out on the stream here, nonetheless. Been a lot of that lately. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, totally agreed. I actually I just learned about a person I used to work with that passed away this morning as well. Yeah, it seems like that's coming up a lot these days, unfortunately. So first thing we need to do is just try to get it up to date, which is going to involve merging main. I probably, I guess, have this locally, right? I think it's opened up here. Yeah, we'll go this one. Okay, I am currently on main, so we'll update main. Origin main, let's fix that. Get remote -v. Okay, origin is Adafruit. Get remote. Rename origin. Adafruit. Let's get main updated. Got back from visiting my mom in the hospital, so yeah. Time comes for all inevitably, one way or another. It's the truth. Gotta appreciate what you got while you can, for sure. So we'll need to add this as a remote. We're gonna want to have this as a remote. I usually try to match the name of the branch with the GitHub, although in this case I'm doing a shortened one for Dan H, because how I think of his name, I think is how it is in Discord, maybe? Let's go now. We should be able to go list. I think if we check it out, ooh, okay, we want to go, Adafruit. So I think since I have the remote now, I can check it out this way, and then if I go and push, I think it will actually push to the right place. So let's go try to start merging main into this. Got our conflicts, which we expected because that's what GitHub reported, and so we're going to try to solve these as best as we can. Take a quick peek through just before I start going. Okay, so inside main, there's an extra line here. I don't know that that matters one way or another. Truthfully, I guess we could pull it because it is in main. In main, it looks like these were changed to runtime errors. We're going to take those. This one was actually changed to a connection error. Here we start having some major differences. So from main, the change was OS error right here. But from our compatible socket over here, the change is much more substantial. It is essentially, I mean, it seems like write is gone. We have receive. Must be further down, I guess. So I think what we're going to do is, on this one, we're actually, so it's kind of nonsensical, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in from main, but then I'm just going to go right away and also pull in, oh, that didn't do what I wanted. Can I undo? In that case, I'm going to pull in from here. And then I'm going to X. I'm going to X from main, but we're going to keep in mind that OS error inside of read line. We're going to keep that in mind. If we find a read line over here, eventually we will try to swap that back so that we keep the change from main. But for now, I'll go X. We'll grab from left. Ooh, okay, here we have changes for both, so I don't know about this one. So strangely, this is a 0 here. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, well, there's a variable right above it. Oh no, that's num read in bytes. Num2 read gets done down here. Guessing that we will want this, I suppose, and then probably also want the underscore available. My assumption being that available was probably removed as not being part of the API. Not mention available, though. Yeah, this is the difference in behavior right there. Receive reading as much as possible when buff size is 0. That, I think, is the crux of our pictures here. Make other non-standard methods be internal, named with preceding underscore. So I think available is falling into this category. How's it going, Axel Magnus? Compatible socket sound interesting. Is ESP32SPI just for airlift? Yes, it is. Airlift stuff. Yep. PyPortal, airlift, featherwing, all of those kinds of devices. Go magic wand there so that we get the 0 and the underscore available. So read has changed actually here. Be gone. I mean, I'm guessing we'll find read somewhere else, or maybe we already passed it. I don't know. Underscore available. Socknum gets the reverse action, actually. Socknum becomes non-private, actually. Connected is back the other way. Available, we saw already. Socknum. Socknum. Changes, okay. Little confused why we just don't have, like, read, for instance. Was read not part of the API? Read? Remove dep... Okay, yeah, just gotta do what the name of the function is and read a little bit. Remove deprecated non-standard methods. Read, write, read line. So those are all gone. And actually, read line, that was the one that had the change to OS error. So if that's gone, then we know we're not actually looking for that change anymore. WSGI server. So this one, WSGI server, if everything works out right, we would just not need this code anymore because we could use HTTP server library. Not sure why. I guess it got deleted just because... Yeah, okay. I don't know if does that count as deleted file, or is it gonna leave an empty copy of that file? This is another just WSGI server. Okay, that was it for our merge. So we want to do some sanity testing to see if I broke anything with my merging. Very possible. I'm going to go ahead and update my PyPortal, which is a PyPortal Titano and is upside down. Very hard to see. I guess the light's just too much for it right now for some reason. Nope, that did not help actually. It's probably about as good as we get. Copy that. Oh, is this built in? Is this built in? We need to make sure this is not. Well, okay, here we go. We can do that by zero buff size. Okay, yeah, I think it is going to be built in. Because I think if it was not built in, I would not have these in the root of my CircuitPy drive. And in fact, we don't have it over here in the lib folder. So as of right now, we should... If it was not frozen in, well, no, right here is where it's at. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually delete this one. I have no idea. I want to keep that? Actually, I have no idea what it is. That's the thing. That's probably... No. WSGI would be better for web applications like Django. I mean, might be better for HTTP server. I don't know. I mean, I look at them as essentially the same. They both essentially give you the same kind of thing. That WSGI example as well as HTTP server library. I don't know if there's any differences. I'm not sure if WSGI is like somehow different in some way, but the examples essentially end up working roughly the same. Although HTTP server, because of all the new features in it, has a lot of more interesting stuff now that the WSGI server would not have made as easy, especially things like serving the files and doing post requests with GET requests and doing authentication and kinds of things. Truthfully, lots of good stuff over there. This still does show here, though, right? Did it not update? No, okay, there it is. Okay, so the fact that this import succeeded, I think, tells us that ESP32SPI is frozen in to this build. Yep. We want to make sure to definitely use the root of CircuitPy, not the libs folder. Also going to go ahead and update the CircuitPython on my device. Bootloader. This is a way of avoiding copy pasting running into issues. Oh, let's see, I missed a couple of the chats here. Push to your branch and check out your commit. Push to your branch, check out your commit. I'm not sure what that was to. WSGI is meant to be cross-platform compatible, but I mean HTTP. Yeah, I mean, as far as I think they implement the same things. The way of avoiding copy pasting. Have you used WSGI? Yeah, well, requests is the other way around, right? Requests is the client, whereas WSGI and HTTP server, both of those are like the server. You would send requests to those servers. So request is like the client side, whereas those other ones are like the server side. Maybe wrong, but isn't WSGI working on some microcontrollers? As far as I know, I mean, first of all, what's up, Michael Pukusa? Thanks for all your updates to the HTTP server library. As far as I know, WSGI, this one, I mean, it only works on things with the airlift, right? So things like the Pi portal, well, all three of the Pi portals, the Matrix portal, the MagTag. That's about it. Oh no, MagTag is S2 actually. Excuse me, not MagTag. Yeah, a couple of those though. The Pi portals are the main ones, truthfully. To the best of my knowledge, this only works on those. Whether or not within that realm of those airlift capable devices, like are there some of those that it does not work on? That I do not know the answer to, if that's your actual question. It could be. I would not be surprised if it wouldn't work on like SAMD21s. I would not be surprised if there's not enough RAM, but I also don't actually know. Saying push the merge changes up to your branch, go to ESP submodule directory, do a get pull, check out your branch you push to, then you should be able to build with your changes. I think I can build with my changes. Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure I follow. I think I can still, I can build with my changes for anything that I need to do. I mean, right now we don't necessarily need to build. Oh, you're saying like to remove it from frozen, I think maybe, potentially. Like make a new build of CircuitPython without it frozen in, potentially, that's what you're meaning? Which we could do. In this case, I will just, like if you paste it in the root of CircuitPy, it will override the, frozen in one. So like, and we could double check by saying in here, like print this, print this. Yeah, so that shows that we're using this one definitely. Remember having issues with WSGI. Yeah, that would also not surprise me. Like anything that uses ESP32S2 would be the built-in Wi-Fi rather than the airlift ESP32SPI. So yeah, I mean like I would not necessarily expect them to work. I don't know for sure. Maybe they do. Maybe there's a way to make it work. That part I don't know, but I would not be surprised if it didn't. Also, I was doing something wrong and ran into the issues, but maybe it's because I was expecting to work more like HTTP server. Last time I used server stuff, the whole one-line F-string HTTP server has come a long way. Yeah, HTTPS server. There now we can do let's grab a simple test action here, which, is there a simple test in the examples here, or do we want to be going to requests library maybe? This is good for a simple test. That should be fine. All right, code that's here is what? List select example. I'm pretty sure this is in the repo. I don't know. Need to keep it? I don't know. I guess. Using airlift only stuff NRF52840 chips last year. This year. Last year, this time. Still did it wrong. Okay, I'm giving up after that, but I think we got the right gist, at least on the last one. This is looking in secrets Pi for Wi-Fi credentials. I don't know if those are there, so I'm going to check on that real fast. Yeah, should be fine. Okay, I'm going to delete some of this, right? We don't really stuff. Yeah, the firmware version comes into this a bit as well. I wonder if there's a new firmware version. Nice, okay. Yeah, there we go. We got basic tests working fine. This one includes a GET request for a file that has a .html extension that actually contains raw text, and then a JSON file. Does not have the post. Maybe let's see if we can do the one with the post as well, because so far those would be only gets. AIO post. Local time. Date time. RTC. Try that. Let's try that. World Time API. S2 and S3 have only recently gotten sorted out to be stable. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they were brand new this time last year, or closer to brand new. Definitely a little rocky for a little while, definitely. So, okay, looks like this just updates once a second. Is it correct? 6.9, and then 1632, which is local time. Yeah, 1632. Nice. All right, let's grab the one from requests. Whoops. So far, we're all good. Actually, well, I think the simple test in here has got the post, actually. Yeah, it posts data to, like, paste bin or something, right? HTTP bin. Run an HTTP server on a PyPico being particularly challenging. Well, I can tell you for the last, like, week and a half to 2 weeks for my quote-unquote day job, the day job that I do on the days that are not Mondays, I have been working on a device that's based on a Raspberry Pi Pico that does include a web server as part of it, although I did not really start the web server portion until very recently. For what it's worth, thus far, I have not really had any trouble running the web server on the Pico using the HTTP server library. It's a very basic web server, but I have been running it on that Pico device without any issues, knock on wood. So hopefully we keep going. So we were able to post the 31F up to HTTP bin, and then we were able to get the data back out, and it contained the data that we posted. Perfect. Same thing here. We posted some JSON data and then got it back out afterwards, and it was still the same data. So awesome. So our posting is working, our getting is working. So far, so good. So really what we will need now is the broken example, which is, I suspect the broken ones are basically going to be anything that tries to download a file that is quote unquote too big, whatever too big is. I don't know the exact cutoff size, but if it is quote unquote too big, then it becomes a chunked response or something, I think. This is kind of my guess. And when we do the chunked response, that is when we are having the trouble that's leading to the scrambling here. So we need the code for this. You happen to know whether there are some differences between Pico and S2 that might impact SSL? So one of the issues is that somehow adapted HTTP server on Pico to use HTTPS, but is unable to reproduce. I have not done any HTTPS stuff. I've been sending requests out of the Pico W to servers over HTTPS. I have not been doing any requests going into that Pico server over HTTPS. It's always been HTTP for me. I don't know how you would work out the cert in order to be able to do it HTTPS. I'm sure, I would imagine it's possible somehow, but I don't know. WizNet. Yeah, WizNet's a little bit separate as well. WizNet's over there on the Ethernet side of things. Project Bundle. User requests with SSL. Yep. Server side, so you got the same thing going as I do so far, at least. Yeah, that would be interesting to be able to do the HTTPS into the server. I don't know how you could keep your cert up to date though. It's like be tricky. I wouldn't know how to load the cert in there, and then I also wouldn't really know how to keep it safe. Okay, yeah, I think we only need this if we don't have an SD card. I'm pretty sure if we have an SD card, we don't have to do that thing, right? Unsafe boot. Safeguard mechanism. Rename boot pie. Maybe you do have to do it. This doesn't say anything about SD card. Did I use that before when I tested this? I don't remember having to do that, but maybe. Let's take a look in the code a little bit. Response equals none, circle fill, retrieving URL, response equals fetch. Response is response. Loop count +1. This is all try except. If we catch any of these errors, just say an error occurred. Increment the error count. If the error count's less than 20, we keep going. If it's greater than 20, we quit. It does time.sleep for a full minute in between retries, which we might lower if we start getting errors. Error count, time. Oh, okay, if you touch the screen, then it fetches immediately. So what is doing, I guess, fetch, I guess. JSON path. JSON path title. Default background, image JSON path. Fetch. Okay, let's trace this code through a little bit here. I'm not sure where the actual download is occurring, and we're gonna need to find that ultimately, so we may as well, even before we run it, we may as well start looking for that. And actually have fetch. So image JSON path is variable it used, it found. So I think we need to go to network base. Go to network base. Talking about the we have the cert response from Pico. It may not have any room left. Yeah, the SD card maybe could help if you have an SD card, but yeah, the Pico itself is pretty small. You want to run better encryption, yeah, 2048. Yeah, you probably choke it out. Honestly, I was doing MD5 hashes on the Pico W, and it was taking like almost a full minute to MD5 hash maybe like 20 or 30K file or something. I got to the point where it was slow enough I didn't even bother anymore. And the issue is talking about link 70 serving content over HTTPS. Yeah, that would not surprise me if it is way slower. Truth be told, like, it's all lower. Like, I don't really understand the nitty gritty of any of it. But like I was saying, the just the MD5 hash was like really slow. So I would assume that any sort of modern encryption algorithm is gonna be probably at least as CPU intensive. You know what you really need is a you almost just need an ASIC for that, right? You need a chip that's designed to handle the crypto for networking. And then if that thing does all the hard work, you free up the main processor, the Pico W, to actually be able to exist and not get choked out, pretty much. Yeah. Able to use it on the S2. Author claims it work on the Pico. Yeah, I mean, the thing about that is the S2, its entire Wi-Fi stack is different. Like, to the best of my knowledge, it's supposed to work the same in CircuitPython, but underneath the hood, of course, the ESP-based device has the ESP IDF, whereas the Pico has, I don't know, I guess Raspberry Pi SDK. I don't even really know what's under the hood on the Pico. So they're supposed to work the same at the CircuitPython level, to the best of my knowledge. But it is completely different under the hood, so I would also not be shocked if there were cases where it doesn't work. Yeah, it is interesting, though. That person was saying they got it to work with HTTPS. That is definitely more than I have even attempted with it. It's pretty cool, though, if they got it working. This doesn't really... So, use local response fake request. If not response, connect. Select response Wi-Fi requests.get. Where does it use the JSON image path? What was it called? Image JSON path. Does not have this at all in here. Data. Did it call fetch data? Fetch. Just fetch. We have nothing about image JSON in here. We, I guess, need to look on self._Wi-Fi, but I mean, surely this is just going to be requests object, right? So where does our processing of like finding the image JSON? What is underscore Wi-Fi? Underscore Wi-Fi dot connect. Wi-Fi module. Network base, whatever got passed in. I need to clone these. I need to stop looking through here. I mean, I guess we probably have them. I'm gonna go ahead and run it actually here in a minute though, before I keep chasing the code. I'm gonna get them opened up, but then before I just keep going through the code, I'm gonna go ahead and run it. Like maybe we get lucky and it just doesn't do that anymore. That'd be pretty nice. I doubt it's the case, but if by some miracle it is, it'll be nice not to need to chase it down some more. I think it's an official. Let's see here. More practical way to be use external. Yeah, definitely. That's what I would do. Like if I were trying to actually connect HTTPS stuff, is put an Nginx in front with another server. Yeah. Running late. Just wrapped up 2-week carpentry project, so we can get back to CircuitPython and PCB stuff. Nice. Nice to have you back. Like there's official documentation that says you can't do it. Get it working, you're gonna be slow and hang a lot. Yeah. Do we have PyPortal library? Not yet. Here. Well, it does definitely seem like it's wanting to be downloading directly to built-in storage. I don't, where does that get defined though, right? Like that behavior is not in here anywhere. It's like inside fetch is like the only place it could be for downloading, right? Now set auto brightness. Probably we have a very old PyPortal library. Ooh, but that's... I installed a new... Did I ever install the new CircuitPython? 8.2 beta 0. Is that what we downloaded? So, but PyPortal library is built in as well. I would have assumed incorrectly, it turns out. Okay, so maybe we have an old PyPortal library. Delete that. D5 is honestly a good idea. Oh, there's basic auth. Request still travel as plain text. Yeah. No SD card found. Okay, maybe if we plug in an SD card, maybe it'll use that. All right. So we grab. Oh, nope. We grabbed an image path out of the original JSON we got. We then converted it to an AIO URL, which is basically going to make us be able to convert the JPEG image into a BMP image. But we then did fail no writable. So now it's going to probably just keep retrying. So we should probably just... that actually. And what I'm going to do is put in an SD card and hope that it will download to the SD card if that's plugged in. Because I would rather not change the built-in storage to writable. If I can get away with it. I can get away without it. Alright, cool. This time we didn't get that message, so I assume that means that it found the SD card and it's going to use it. BRB while that's loading. Okay, there we go. And we did get a messed up image. It's got that same sort of diagonal kind of blockiness thing going on. It also seems that the colors are jacked up on the top half. I'm not sure what's going on with the messed up colors. But I kind of assume that that's all part of the same thing. Like, fingers crossed, I'm hoping when we fix whatever we fix in here that it will fix that too, hopefully. Still not secure. Yeah, I mean, definitely not secure if you can see the network traffic. Yeah, for sure, because like you say, it's all plain text, right? So if you have Wireshark on the network or man in the middle, like if you control the router or anything like that, like you'll definitely be able to see everything. They were out of stock. Chargers. Yeah, chargers. No itsy bitsies. BLE is cool. I was thinking about trying to make a mesh candle system. You create a BLE hub with an RPi to control multiple devices. That's a good question, actually. I don't know. Can Raspberry Pi connect to multiple through Bluetooth? I'm not sure. Okay. Now we do, unfortunately, go back to digging here. So I have fetch at all, I guess, because it's just in base. Can't click through, which is kind of annoying, right? Be nice if I wonder what I would need to do to get these loaded to where they're like, maybe they're both in the same one or something. Using local. So this prints this, and we did not see that print. We do not see that, so we did not come in here. If not response, which would be true, because response is none here. We did not go into here. Therefore, response has to still be none here. Connect, retrieving data. Did we see that? Oh, retrieving data. There we go. And then it says reply is okay. Is that from CodePy or? Okay, there's our retrieving URL, which then connected inside. It does not look like reply is okay is in here. Reply is okay from. Interesting. Where's this? Check response. How did we get into check response? That's pretty weird, right? So fetch gets the response from here and then returns it. It doesn't ever call. Doesn't ever call check response. Where does this get called from? Parse data. Where does this get called from? Fetch data. But then fetch data just calls fetch. But our code is not calling fetch data. It's just calling fetch. How do we get into fetch data? Oh, wait, what? Where is this? Init? Portal base init. Oh, this file's big. What class is this? Portal base. So portal base class has fetch. But network base also has fetch. Perform, that should be perform. Fetch data from the URL we initialized with, perform any parsing. So it would be it would be portal.network.fetch would be the network fetch, but we're calling just portal.fetch. Which means we're calling the one on portal base. Okay, so I'm caught up here. So inside fetch here, we say network fetch data, which inside network fetch data, we do call parse data, which calls check response, which prints this thing. Okay. Where did we download from? Because something is like downloading that image. If content type equals JSON, content type equals. Wait, what? If content type equals JSON, content type equals content JSON, and then we have the same thing here. Interesting. In our case, process JSON is what it will be. JSON reverse. See, this is going to be getting tricky in here because somewhere in here is where it's pulling out the image JSON path. Yeah. Just checking out WLED a little bit as well, but I ended up making a CircuitPython version of something kind of similar. Use append, JSON traverse, JSON transform. Optional JSON post-processing. Apply any transformations. I think we don't have... Do we have transformations? I don't think we have transformations. Yeah, I don't think so. I think there would be like transform something. One of these would say transform. We have image dim JSON path. We have image JSON path. I don't know what the difference between those are either. Does PyPortal docs have oh, what the... JSON traversal path for a background image to display defaults to none. JSON traversal path for the original dimensions of image tuple used with fetch defaults to none. Dimensions. I guess dimensions, why would we need the dimensions? I guess we need the dimensions when we send it to Adafruit IO to convert it to bitmap? Question mark? It's got it, yeah, it's got a height and a width there. It must be we're doing those. It's kind of weird though, right? Because the server could find the height and width, I think, without us telling. That's all right. It's on traverse. Values. It's on data. First down the specified JSON path and return the value or values. Does values here have the image path on it? This is not going to do me any good to change this here. Yeah, we're inside process JSON, inside network. I'm going to print values out so I can see if it has the image path in it. It's like NRF52840 has BLE5. Possible, not going to go down NRF SDK rabbit hole. Fast. I don't know hardly anything about Bluetooth. Oh. Auto reload in there. I might turn auto reload off. We never saw values. Oh, there it is. Ooh. Okay, that was Not at all what I expected to find inside values. It's basically what got put here. Okay, well that does not have our image in it at all, so not where we need to be looking. The image things. What was the what's that? If image JSON path image URL equals traverse. If image URL original image, which that we saw printed, I think. This being on this side now, apparently. Original, it says original URL. Yeah, original URL. Converted URL. This last night I was streaming a little bit. This one little moth thing, we get these like tiny little black moths that look like hearts. They show up usually like late spring and they last for a couple of weeks. And fly around. Whatever reason, this one has been interested in me while I am trying to stream. Convert image, convert URL. Okay, here we're finally getting somewhere. Okay, hold on, where are we in here? This is inside process image. So we have chunk size 4096, if SD card, file name, SD card, file name. Also use a smaller chunk size? I don't know if that's still relevant. This might not be the case anymore. I don't know. I've never seen any kind of issues downloading stuff. Well, it's, I guess, chunk size. I mean, it's not the full file size, I guess, but self.wget. So wget then is probably, so can we skip all of this? Can I skip like all of this? Can I say convert URL fetching stream from? Can I just grab this URL? New file, fetch test. URL is this. I don't know if I need to give it all the rest of the stuff or not. Does wget look like it returns a response? Oops. Using required arguments. Oh, file name chunk size. Which I need to also initialize the SD card though, right? Just hanging around. Pleasure to have you. Thanks for tuning in. Not quite. Ours do not, they don't blend in quite that well. If this thing had just these black little parts that kind of look like the humps on a heart, the ones we have are super tiny, and they basically just look like tiny black hearts. Their silhouette looks almost exactly like a heart. Spotted lanternfly. Yeah, that one's pretty crazy looking. I think I tried to look up what they were at one time. I may have found something, but I do not recall what it was. We need to initialize the SD card. Can I do that? Actually, will it do it for me? Maybe it will do it for me. Maybe I'll just give it the file. Even if we don't enter, right? Let's give it a try. So we say URL is that. What is it? File name equals slash SD slash downloaded.bmp. Chunk size. I don't know, we'll do 512, I guess. That's what it was doing. Then I want to run it again, so I'm going to go like this. So I don't think it will actually display, best of my knowledge. I think it will just download. If it works, it will download. None type has no attribute get. None type has no attribute get. So we probably need to initialize more than just PyPortal by itself. How we do that? Portal-based network 278. It's an invasive species from China. Oh wow, it's hurting some of the crops like soybeans. Ours are a bit different. That little guy looks like it's almost got like a pretend ladybug on it. Like it's trying to mimic a ladybug with its back there. So this is saying self._wifi.request.get. So none type has no get. So requests is none, it sounds like. I'm also going to make a file just called f. Inside f, it's just going to say import fetch test. Now I just say import f. Carnegie Mellon robotics team created a robot to clean trees of their eggs. Wow. Sounds like a very difficult robotics task. Here we go. We did, so Wi-Fi is not none, but requests is none. So we need to figure out why requests would be none. That's tricky though. I don't even know. Where does self Wi-Fi even come from? Find self Wi-Fi equals Wi-Fi module, which got passed to us for network base, but I don't know where that happened, right? Say we create a PyPortal object, because that's what we did. So PyPortal extends portal base. Network. It's passed to super init network. Network is network. Extends network base. Are we not getting network? Do we have network? don't know if this will actually print anything. Seems like we have a network object. Network gets passed into super init, which is portal base. Yep. So when network is PyPortal network, and it gets created, passes along Wi-Fi to super. Anything with requests. Base probably. Actually. Self.network equals network. With requests. Network base. This gets Wi-Fi module, comes in. Secrets data, request equals none. Okay, we're getting close. Request equals none. Where does it get not equals to none? Self Wi-Fi.request. Connect. Will connect. Makes a lot of sense. Does have sense. Does not. Whoa. Only kind of red moth I could find. These ones, ours are black. That one looks pretty sweet though. Our portal has no connect. Okay. Portal.network. Wi-Fi requests is none false. Okay. Nice. We are downloading it, looks like. So yeah, and then in this case, like it will save, it will say after wget, and then nothing else will happen. Why don't we go ahead and make the old on-disk bitmap though, and show this on the display. So import display IO. Let's make a main group equals group. Let's make a on disk ODB equals on disk bitmap. What's this one? It's a bitmap. Oh, well, it needs this. Yeah. Bitmap. Is it? Is it file? File. Okay. /sd/downloaded.bmp. Yeah, I think that's it. Tile grid we need. Tile grid equals display io.tilegrid, that's going to be bitmap equals odb, pixel shader is odb.pixel shader, main group, and the tile grid. Display dot show main group while true s display is the built-in display. Okay. Hopefully this will download the file and then put it on the display, and we'll see the one with the messed up blocks or whatever. Because this is a much smaller reproducer, which we can then start modifying inside of portalbase/pyportal to try to get it fixed without having the entire whole Cleveland Art program. In this case, we'll have much less. So 19 ODB file does not take any keyword arguments. All right. Whoops, sorry about that. There we go. Perfect. We've got our zigzaggy, weird, rectangular, stair-steppy thing going on. So now we just need to fix it. Where did we last leave off in here? So inside of wget, fetching stream from URL. Reply is okay. Debug. Maybe we should turn debug on. Huge chunks. Oh. Stream. That's not, is that part of requests? Stream. An iterator that will stream data by only reading chunk size bytes and yielding them when we cannot buffer the whole data stream. Which sounds like the situation that we are in. Stream bool false. Stream will determine if we buffer everything or whether only to buffer everything or whether to only read only when requested. Request, so just all it just says is that stuff. So is it inside of requests library? Inside of requests library? But the thing is, request library works with other devices. I'm just gonna open this locally. I don't really like browsing GitHub anymore. Honestly, I think this change where they have changed this, it's more functional, but for some reason I don't like it as much. I can't quite like put my finger on it, but I just don't like looking at code in the GitHub front end anymore. It's like, it's weird too, because it's pretty similar to this, and like it's more functional than it used to be, but you know, for whatever reason, I can't get behind it. I don't like the new way for some reason. West, stream. Not socket. It's called self.request. Wait, what? What is this? Hold on, I gotta BRB. Okay. Okay. Throw away. To read, receive into, buff, heat equals 0. This looks potentially relevant. Throw away though, that's kind of odd. Yes, this is such a big thing. Request. So session.request. Just calls self.request. Would that be though? Self.request. I thought this was self.request. F request. It's inside. No. I have send request. Session. Okay, session does not extend anything. Okay, session is just itself. Session. Session has a method called request. Adafruit requests.session. Inside of this method called request, it calls self.request. Is that not itself? 25? Is that not where I just was? Oh, this is redirects. Where does stream get used? This is the only place. If allow redirects, if location in response headers and 300 status code. What if we don't redirect though? Last response equals response? Retry count. Retry count, while retry count less than socket, get socket. Send request. But this does not take stream. If okay, it has adder receive. Okay. This is going to be relevant, I'm pretty sure, this part of the code. But it says if it has receive, then we say result.receive socket receive 1. Else, if it doesn't have receive, then what it did was result equals a byte array 1, and then socket read into result. If result H, things seem to be okay, so break with the socket set. That's kind of interesting. We're only reading 1 byte here, though, right? Self.close socket. If not socket, outer retries. So we did the retries. We got a socket to be set. We read the first byte. The first byte was an H. We created a response object. We don't consider redirects, then we just returned our response object. It seems like stream would get ignored if you didn't follow a redirect. But also, if I'm honest, it seems like nothing happens if you don't follow a redirect. So let's assume we were sending this request and we were not gonna have any redirect. So let's say it doesn't matter if this is true or false. Let's say the server that's answering us is definitely not going to answer with a redirect, right? So we'll make that assumption and then we step through the code. So we're inside here. Let's say we don't have any headers. Proto dummy host path. Sure. Yeah, we have a valid URL. Let's say no problem. We'll say we're on port 80 for now. Yeah, we're on port 80. I don't know, last response. Let's just say it's the first time we've done it. So I assume that last response will be none. So I assume we won't do this. Retry count is 0. Last exec none. While, so we're, yep, 0 is less than 2. Plus 1 on there, get the socket. Again, we haven't touched stream yet, so we get the socket, we say okay is true, we say try to send the request. And at this point, we have not done anything with stream. We say we're gonna try to send the request. If that fails, we're gonna set last exception to be the exception. We're going to set OK to be false. So if that succeeds, last exec will stay none. OK will stay true. That succeeds. If OK was true, we check if our socket has receive. If it does, we say result equals receive 1. If it does not have receive, we say result equals byte array 1. And we say socket receive in 2. No matter which one of those we do, next thing we do is say if result equals H. If that's true, then we break after having set our socket. I assume that just means like this socket here. We break. Okay, we break. break would break out of the while loop actually here. Okay, that would break out of the while loop, which means we would not close the socket, importantly. So we would break. Okay, so now we're outside the while loop. We came out here. We did not close if not socket. So this part will not be true for us. Let's say that we got a socket. Say that we do. It says response equals response, a new response from socket passing in self. I mean, does one of these somehow have stream on it? I don't think so, right? Stream was here. We haven't done anything with it yet. We say response equals that, and then allow redirects. Like, I don't think it matters, right? Let's say it's true, but we said we're taking the assumption that our request is not going to return a redirect. So this would be false. We say last response equals response, and then we just return it. Like we never used stream. We are in requests. I'm gonna copy this. So is stream responsible for, like, is stream related to the thing getting broken apart? Like, does that maybe only happen when stream is true? That's kind of like my thought, is I'm kind of guessing that that's probably the case. All right, where is this? This is at 640-ish. Okay, so now we're going to print out whether stream is true or false, and then we're going to print out if we are following a redirect. Sorry. Agreed, I don't need the left menu. At least make it an option that can be disabled. Maybe you just haven't looked. Toggle to collapse it. Okay, maybe I'll need to find that. Makes it look like the GitHub old. We did not print any of that at all. Is requests frozen in? Okay, request is frozen in. So we actually want to take that modified one, put it not inside libs, but instead at the root of CircuitPy. Try that again. Huh? That's not ideal. Attribute set socket. We can't use this requests for some reason. Fetch test line 9, Pi portal. Weird that portal base. Weird that portal base is baked in, but not PyPortal. I don't like it because I end up with so many. Is that the PyPortal? I have another one out here. Okay. Python version. Installs portal base, even though we already have one in the root, which is the one that will get used. So it's big now. So network 90. Well, okay, init 151, which is just going to be network. Oh, network 95, which is Wi-Fi. Comes from portal-based Wi-Fi coprocessor. '71. Why is it 71 and not 70? I don't know. I know. Requests. Has no set socket. Is that old? How, session. Socket equals socket pool. HTTPS equals requests dot session. We pass it the socket and SSL. And then later on we would say this object dot get or post or whatever. So is set socket like an old way to do that, or requests used to have set socket? Let's look at portal base. Still calls set socket. How did it work with the Cleveland? Like, we downloaded it several times already. We had old requests, I guess, right? We must have had old requests. say something about set socket? Thing. What? Set socket. Legacy API. Use session instead. But if it does exist, why does this thing... It doesn't exist. What is request? Is it imported? Import Adafruit requests as requests. Understand why it wouldn't have that then. Doesn't have anything. Weird. Have anything. Well, does not look like we are going to be solving this evening. I have learned a lot about it. We've peeled back a bunch of layers of the onion at least, so... I do not understand why this does not have any things like... import name response. About session. So like sessions should be a thing that exists. We have import requests as requests. We have requests.session. This has no session. What does this do? I don't... Import Adafruit requests as requests, dir request only this. Import Adafruit requests as requests, dir requests all of these. I do not understand why we just got two different things. Stream is true, but we have yet to see that like location thing. Never saw it. Okay, so I think that stream argument gets ignored unless you follow redirects. And there actually are redirects in the response to your request. In our case, it doesn't seem like his case. You pass in stream here. Let's do session. Back up here. This one comes in as stream. Just like we stepped through before. I mean, I also still don't understand how this is even finishing, right? Because we've only read one byte. Like, when did we read the rest? Didn't do that at all. We just returned a response. Back to wget. Go to it. Or was that? That was in portal based? I'm so lost now. Wget. So it was in base. Okay. I'm lost now. I don't know where we were trying to find. Fetch? Was it fetch? I mean, it was. Fetch calls fetch data. Data calls different fetch and then parse data. It calls. This is the one that calls the portal base fetch. Oh, this calls fetch data. And there's so many layers in this thing. It's like very lost. Fetch data. So fetch data calls a thing called fetch, but fetch data is also called by a thing called fetch. But I don't know what is self.fetch? Apparently this, okay. Which says request.get. Where's the wget? I swear we've passed a wget at some point. This one does not have stream. Where did stream? Now I'm like so lost again. Wi-Fi request get. Yeah, I'm lost. I don't understand where we read the rest of the thing. Like right here, we read 1 byte. As far as I can tell, we did not read anything else, and then we just returned this back out of request, but which then got returned back out of here. As, I guess, response, which then got returned from the fetch here, which this is the fetch that's inside network base. Which came from the fetch data, maybe? I should be writing these down, I guess. Sorry, I just bashed the microphone again. Yeah, there's no stream here either. Okay. We're gonna write down method function. Gosh, why does it do that? Step. Please. Oh, this is a maze, yeah. Okay. The Okay. Let's not worry about Cleveland art project. So in fetch test, we called pyportal.wget first. Okay, pyportal.wget called what? Where did pyportal.wget come from? We're just going to list out the whole stack here. And then I'll probably wrap it up pretty quick after this, and we'll have to continue on another time, but I'm going to try to write these out. So wget is network.wget. So wget gets overwritten. So when we call network, when we call pyportal, when we call pyportal.wget, we are actually calling network.wget. I'm going to say self.network. It was .get. I'm going to start writing down line numbers actually too. Well, that gets tricky though, because this doesn't really have a line number, so to speak. I mean, I guess it's init pyportal init py 190, I guess let's call it. Oh, that's the best way to do this. I feel so lost. Self.network.get. That would be, so network gets instantiated here. So network is a pyportal network, and we're calling get on it. Pyportal network.get. But pyportal network itself does not have get. Yeah, by itself it does not have a get, which means it's going to be inside network base, I'm pretty sure. It would be network base get. Doesn't exist. All right, well, that didn't last very long. We're like already just, I don't know. I don't know. Am I like missing something? How can we be calling get when we don't have a get? Right, fine. W get. Oh my gosh. W get. So PyPortal network again though does not have wget, so we are still going back to portal base. Does have a wget. This is at 261 inside portal base. Okay, so inside here it calls underscore Wi-Fi dot requests dot get. So that is inside of requests dot get. Is ultimately going to be calling to session dot get, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, get calls session dot request. What session? You know what's weird though is in here it's get, but this just calls default session request with get as this. Which means if I understand right, it means we're not calling this. Instead, we're actually just calling directly to this. Feels like we skipped a layer. When it's at 273 that it calls this one. This is inside requests.py. No slash, just line number. $829. $829. So this calls, it was get, it calls into requests, it calls into request, excuse me. From 829, which is back up onto session. I'm pretty sure is going to be back up here. This is the session dot request. Session dot request is at line 625. And inside of here, what happens? Okay, this is this one. So we have our retries. We call send request. I'm like getting messed up with the lines here, right? Because this is where this is called, but then this is where it's declared. I'm not being consistent. Just gonna make myself even more confused, which is kind of hard because I'm already really confused. And this is where we do receive stream here, but we don't do anything with it as far as I can tell, unless we follow a redirect. We do call this thing send request underscore send request. And we also create a response object and then we return that. So I guess it must be in here where the next like meaningful thing happens. Where's that? This is declared at requests 577. This is just sending through the socket self._send. Send. But nothing in here reads data back, right? Everything in here is always sending. Nothing is reading. So I don't know if that's... I don't think that's where we need to be. I'm very confused by this bit. So because we read 1 byte, we receive 1 byte, we either do it this way or we do it this way. But either way, we get 1 byte, we check it. If it's H, then we break out of the while loop. We have a socket, so we don't do that. We create a response. I mean, is this, when we create a response, are we reading in here? Received length, okay, maybe, yeah, I guess so, huh? Parse headers, raw session, status code, read into, read to, read to, receive into. The response object. The response from a request contains all the headers and content. But I mean, we must be reading inside here somewhere, right? We get the sock, we get the session, socket equals sock encoding, cached headers. Receive length is 0, receive buffer is 32 bytes, remaining none, chunked false, backwards compatible, not equals, not has adder receive into, HTTP equals underscore read to, and then a single space with a byte string. So that's interesting. If not HTTP, if session, session.close socket, else if there was no session, then socket.close, and raise unable to read response. So yeah, I don't think we're having that. Status code equals int bytes self read to this thing. Self.reason equals byte array read to. Oh, read to, like read until. Read until you find this character, the space. Okay, read to. And then this one is saying read to the new line, /r/n. So reason is that. And then parse headers. But then we just have raw none and session session. $577. That was send request. Okay, yeah, that was right. Okay, yeah, but that I think is maybe. I don't think there's anything important actually in here. So we need to basically go back to 676 is where we called this, and we go on from there, and the next one is the response. This is inside requests 700. And it goes to 178. But from 676. What do we do with it once we get it back? Response equals response, we just return it. It's from request, which means we're just returning it like all the way up the chain, basically. But where does it get read? Like, nobody has read it yet. Okay, I think I'm gonna pass, not pass anything, really. I think I'm gonna head out for now. So thanks to everybody for hanging out. DJ Devin says I'm heading out, gonna get some more dinner. Yep, take it easy, DJ Devin. Thank you everybody for hanging out and watching along. I hope everyone has a good evening for the rest of your night. I hope you have a good weekend and all that stuff as well. I'll be back tomorrow morning over on my own channel. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, I'll be back streaming some more CircuitPython stuff. Yeah, I don't know for sure. Maybe we'll keep going on this. Maybe we'll work on some other stuff. I'm not entirely sure. So in the morning, I'll figure that out. Yeah, I'd be happy to have anybody who's watching along now. If you like this kind of content, you can join me on that Saturday morning stream as well. And I'm working on similar stuff typically. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then I will see you tomorrow potentially. For everybody else, thanks again for watching. And yeah, just have a good night and all that stuff. And I will catch you all next time.